Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got two replays in the Russian Tier 8 Premium Heavy Tank, the Glory IS-5. Now this is a tank that I don't think I've actually featured it on the channel before, and that is because it was always terrible. There's no other way of putting it. It was pretty awful, and that's because it had tanks out there that did the same job as it, but better. I'm looking at you, Scourge Kirovets 1, and other tanks like the... Because it's weird, right? It borrows off of some of the tanks that are in the Russian heavy premium line, right? Because it basically didn't really have much armour. Its gun handling was pretty derpy. It didn't really have any DPM. And its mobility was better than some, like the IS-3A or the Fatherland, but worse than the Scourge Kirovets 1. And, yeah, it just had the same gun as the other two, but worse, right? Or nearly as bad. It was some slight differences in terms of the stats, essentially. And it just made it overall just not a desirable premium to have. And it just didn't really make it that fun to play. Because I felt like either I could play the Scourge and have better armor, better mobility, better gun handling, better DPM. Or I could play the IS-3A and have, slightly worse gun handling, but slightly better armor. And... yeah, the mobility is worse on the IS-3A. To be honest, I wouldn't have played the IS-3A, but then they buffed it. But yeah, they basically gave it some significant buffs, and the buffs made it absolutely fantastic. To be honest, it makes it a really, really solid premium tank. And you're going to see two really nice games in it in this video, but it definitely made it far more enjoyable to play and far more enjoyable to just take out on the battlefield, because it meant that it had something going for it, as opposed to just being worse than some of the other stuff out there. So what got buffed? Well, it got buffs on the armour. So the armour around the driver's hatch went from 60 to 70, which is on the upper hull. The terrain resistances got buffed a little bit to make it help it get to its top speed a little bit more, which is definitely nice. Although I'd still run off-road driving for that 2.3 on, I think it's firm terrain or soft terrain, one of the two. Accuracy during rotation and movement went from 0.24 to 0.2, which is quite a big difference, because that means the gun doesn't... because that was one thing that was awful on this tank as well, is that if you turn the turret and the tank, it basically had absolutely awful bloom on this gun. Like, it was really not very nice. Add to the fact that it wasn't very accurate, and yeah, it was just absolute pain. And then, as well as that, obviously, you've got no armour to take a hit either, so then you took all the hits when you missed those shots, and then you reloaded quite slowly too. Yeah, it was just, as a package, it was horrible. So those buffs to dispersion during movement and rotation, etc. are pretty damn nice. The frontal armour got buffed from 201mm to 220, which gave it... it doesn't make it absolutely fantastic armour on the front, but it gives it enough to bounce tier 7s now, which is something that it definitely didn't have before that. And you can bounce a fair few tier 8s as well. But naturally, as a tier 8 heavy in a tier 9 or 10 game, you have no armour. But that's the life of a tier 8 and tier 9 heavy for most of them, unless you're a defender. The armour around the hatches on the turret got buffed to 150 as well, which meant that if you were hull down, your turret hatches on top of there didn't get buffed, didn't get penned easily as well, which was damn nice. The frontal roof armour got buffed to from the 30mm, to 50mm, which means it doesn't get overmatched by most guns anymore, which is good, because that was one thing that the turret was really annoying for, is people would just shoot above your gun and they'd be able to pen it, which was frustrating. But now that doesn't happen unless they're 151mm caliber guns or higher. The turret rotation went from 24 degrees a second to 26, and the gun mantle armour went to 230, which again strengthens the turret armour when it's hull down a lot more, which definitely makes it nice. The accuracy went from 0.46 to 0.42, which is, again, a massive change. With all the accuracy perks and that, you can get it down to a decent level. The reload went from 12.6 seconds to 11.5, and the accuracy during turret rotation went from 0.16 to 0.1, which, again, made the bloom on the gun far, far better in terms of just how it performs. And it made the gun on this tank really damn nice. It actually means it performs pretty well. It's still a little bit derpy because it's 0.42 accuracy, right? But you can get it to just be decent, and it feels pretty damn nice these days, especially with the reload, as you've seen at like, what, 8.6 fully pimped out? Or we'll see when we fire here. We slam that shell in, it's like, wait for it to finish, although it's going to get knocked by the food. With a food reload buff, 7.8 seconds. It's a little bit slower without the food. But yeah, so your reload is pretty damn nice at 390 alpha in this tier, with really good velocity on the APCR, and then really nice heat pen as well. This tank is so much better with those buffs. The quality of life for this tank has been massively improved, and it's honestly great to see, because it's always nice to bring tanks out of the wilderness and into the frying pan, right? To be able to get yourself blown up in. But it's thoroughly enjoyable. So in terms of this game in front of you, we've managed to accomplish 5k damage so far with 747 assistance. We managed to derp a shell there on the FV4202P, and we're just looking for the shell into his turret. Then the the Emil 1951, pops round, gets a shot into our tracks, but we shut him down. We're now on 79 hit points, which is awkward. We aim the shot at the lower plate of that FV4202P, but unfortunately it goes underneath him and bounces. This is kind of awkward because this guy can shut us down, but thankfully he ends up bouncing. I have no idea what that shot was. That was awful. But I think maybe, you know, I'm a heavy tank. I can ram this guy to death. Not with my 76 hit points, I can't. I think that was a frustration point of just trying to ram him to death. But we fail. But fortunately enough, the team carries out the victory. And finish with the 6 kills, 5.1k damage, 747 assistance, ace tanker, top gun, high caliber, 2062 base XP. A really great game in terms of that base XP for the Glory IS-5. Like I say, the tank is so much better these days since it got buffed. It just makes it so much more durable, especially in the top tier matches where it used to, even then it used to suck. Now it's pretty damn nice to play. I still think the Scourge Corvettes 1 is possibly better, but this is definitely a choice now. It's not a just pick the Corvettes 1 no matter what. This is definitely still it's out there for a choice now, which is good. So in terms of a crew on the Glory IS-5, I did run a pretty generic heavy tank crew, to be honest, because it kind of just needs it, and that is Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Track Mechanic, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Off-Road Driving. Off-Road Driving to help it get to the top speed, because you want to try and help it get to that top speed as much as you possibly can, because it's nice to be able to hit it. All the gun perks, because you do have 0.42 accuracy, and it's nice to make the gun as good as it humanly can be. Track Mechanic, because, well, you're a heavy tank, you will get stuck into a brawl most of the time, so you want to make sure that you can get the tracks back on if you do get tracks, because getting perma-tracked by tanks that don't have that good a reload is honestly not very nice. And yeah, you want that to happen, essentially. In terms of getting your tracks back on, not getting perma-tracked. Okay, don't get perma-tracked. In terms of equipment, I run the Advanced Rammer, which is Advanced Loader, the Vertical Stabilizers, and the Advanced Optics to be able to spot for myself with the optics. The Vertical Stabilizers to make sure that this gun is, again, as good as it humanly can be, because you want to make it a strength on the tank. And the Advanced Loader to make sure that you can make this reload 10% better, as always, because you always want to make it 10% better on a heavy tank, pretty much. So we're in this second game, and we're on Dragon's Ridge, a map that I really don't like. I just don't like Dragon's Ridge. I'm really not a fan of it. No matter which side I play on it, I don't enjoy it. Because there's just too many positions on both sides of the map where people just sit, and there's nothing you can do about pushing it without basically dying. Especially for their side. They have the position at J6, which you basically can't spot from the position we're in here, but they can absolutely shred you and spot you too, which is kind of annoying. And it just makes it a bit of a pain. Plus, from their side, you really do struggle to take F4, because people in positions like where I am basically completely nullify you because they keep shooting you in the back, which is very annoying. And also, just with the map, there's a separation of the fighting forces, which never tends to go well. And that is that if the side of the 9 line becomes outnumbered, or the side on the 2 line gets outnumbered, and there's a lot of people on the 9 line, it's very difficult for either side to get back to the other side in any quick time, because of all the big, giant hills to get anywhere. I don't know, I just don't like this map at all. I like the way it looks. I actually think it's a very beautiful map, but in terms of the way it plays, and the way everyone seems to play it, I just really hate playing on it. It's one of those maps that I'd rather avoid. But everyone has maps like that, right? Everyone has maps that they don't like for different reasons. This is just one of those that I don't like. But anyway, I digress. So in terms of this game so far, we're up to 1500 damage. You can see, even with the 5 degrees of gun depression that this tank has, we are still managing to make good use of this position by getting shots into the side and rear of the people that take that little dip in front of us. And then we notice this Emil 1 coming round behind us, which is not optimal, because sort of there is, except for the heavy tank at H8, there is actually no one on the 9 line, so we had no idea this guy was here. He clearly went round the back end so that that heavy tank didn't see him. But now he's reloading, we have to make sure we get rid of this Emil 1. He's reloading, so we have to take the opportunity to kill him. Clearly, there's nothing else on the 0 line, because that heavy tank never got shot, or it just didn't shoot him. And unfortunately, we absolutely screw up. We end up ricocheting off the lower plate of the Emil 1, because we should have shot the upper plate, but we ended up just screwing it up. But fortunately enough, we managed to shut him down, because I don't think that Emil could quite get the gun on target, or he changed targets halfway through. But yeah, you can see that position that we were in anyway, to originally start with, is really damn useful, especially for tanks that have gun depression. It's a good position to take in a tank from our spawn, because you can just nullify anyone that uses that whole mid-ridge by just popping up and shooting them in the side. And that helps you stop them pushing the other side quite effectively, because tanks that do take that sort of ridge area and don't get opposed can be really irritating to try and dismount. But yeah, the 5 degrees of gun depression on this tank, even with that, we still managed to do decently from that position. But now we are climbing the 9 line, because I want to get up behind the people that are possibly at G7. Well, actually, the heavy tank is pushed aggressively to G7. We can see there's only one heavy tank there at the minute. So what I actually want to do is push down to J6, possibly, and get behind there and find any of the campers that might be sitting in those TD spots, because there's usually at least 1 or 2 people there, and they are really awkward to get rid of. So if I get rid of those for my team, the people can push this mid-ridge where their 2 heavies are at E5 quite easily if they want to, because they know they're safe from the camping snipers that tend to sit back here where we're going. There is actually a Black Prince, though, and the other thing as well is we get the flanking shots on this Black Prince, which is great. We actually spot a heavy tank for the first time as well as we come round. It's an OHO. Why the OHO is there, I have no idea. But as you can see, we managed to get the shots to distract the Black Prince enough that he gets shut down, which helps the heavy tank that was at G7 progress himself. Now we load the heat rounds, even though we only got 1 APCR round left anyway. We load the heat rounds, because with the heat rounds, we will go through this OHO. With our standard rounds, we will only go through the OHO in his side, because, I mean, the OHO is a pretty nasty tank to face these days after its buffs to its armour, unless you fire premium. Pretty much, which is a sad fact of Japanese heavy life in general, right? So he comes in for the ram, which is actually kind of what I wanted anyway, because I could get up to his side, which means he won't depress the gun on me at all in this position. He's now driving forward, which makes it kind of awkward, but you know what? We've got the reload, and we shut the OHO down. We're up to 5.1k damage, there's still 5 tanks left, and now we're in their sort of more sniper position. This position here on this hill isn't the one, it's actually that hill there that is the deadly sniping position. If you ever want to have a sort of really good stealthy sniper and you spawn in this southern spawn, go up this hill to my right, because you will get pure shots straight across the E line, and anyone that pushes that across there, or anyone that pushes down the 2 line across the open fields and gets spotted, you can farm with ease, and it's pretty deadly for anyone that pushes those spots. So we know there's a heavy tank. We know where everyone is, right? They're all spotted over there, and we know there's a T-34 over here. So we managed to surprise T-34, snap a shot into his hull, and track him in place, which is nice. We are firing the heat now, because we have APCR run out. And I'm just looking for a shot into his cupola there, because I can probably pen it with the heat, which we do manage to pen. We're up to 5.9k damage, and with the heat, we should basically finish this guy off on his upper plate. But we hit the gun, so we don't actually hit the T-34's upper plate there, which is a shame. And now he is kind of below our gun depression. And that shot misses. That's where the derpiness comes in. We had pretty much the whole turret, and only the top bit of the reticle was actually that T-34's, was the rock. And then we get fortunate, because I just get frustrated and go, oh, screw you, RNG. I'm just going to drop down and smash him with RBRT and get that sick kill. Nope. No, that didn't happen either. Nope, that didn't happen. And we ended up bouncing on him. But RNG smiled on us too, because he managed to bounce his premium APCR round, which is like, what, 300 and something pen, off of our side as we came down. So we'll take it. We got our little bit of luck. It is what it is. I mean, you've got to ride the rough with the smooth on anything in this game, realistically. But there's 1 tank left. We only actually have 5 rounds, which is concerning, because if we have to fire anything else, we're screwed, because the HE's going to splash, but it's not going to do too much, I don't think. And it's a medium tank. It was spotted down at C3. Now it's actually at A4. We're just trying our best to get there. It's a VK3002D, but he gets shut down by the TNH 105-1000 and finished the game with a really great total again for the Glory IS-5. 2 kills, It's nearly 6k damage. Ace tanker, the high caliber. And 2058 base XP. A really nice game for the Glory IS-5 again. And those were just two games that I randomly, especially the first game, I just randomly played the Glory. Or was it this game? I think it was this game that I randomly played the Glory by accident and had a really nice game. And was like, well, I'll play again. And we got another pretty good ace with Swindle and Jamus. But it's a fun tank. As always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!